Dee. Well, I know you're Sonia Evans right now, but Sonia Dee just rolls off my tongue, and that's how I've known Sonia for. Well, we were classmates till Standard 5 in St. Joseph's, in Madras, in Perambur, Madras. And Sonia lived on Main Road, the capital. If Perambur was the capital of Anglo-Indian town, then Main Road is probably like the Senate or the White House or like the DC area of Anglo-Indians. So I've known Sonia for a while. We haven't spoken in who knows how long, maybe you can count it in decades. But I've also found out that Sonia lives not too far from me, in Georgia, right? At least the last time I heard. But I'm excited to talk to Sonia because, and I already told her I'm going to embarrass her by saying, like, growing up, there was always the smartest kid in class. You knew who that was day one. While you were eating glue, a kid was raising their hands and answering all the questions. That was Sonia. You knew day one she was the smartest kid in class. And I haven't spoken to her in ages. So Sonia, welcome. I'm so glad to speak with you and reconnect. So tell us, give us a short version of where you are right now and the life update, and then we'll talk details.
Well, thank you, Conrad. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And yes, I would love to share some of the things that you're asking me about. Well, I moved here to Macon, Georgia, which is probably south of where you are in Atlanta. Years ago, mid 2000s, I came here, had a job to work in one of the large hospitals here in town. And I came as a travel nurse, and it was very, I didn't want to keep traveling because
Yeah.
I didn't know people and I didn't feel that comfortable or confident. So I ended up staying. So much for being a travel person, but this became home. And yep, came here to work as a nurse, and that's how it started.
Awesome. So I'm glad you mentioned travel nurse, because I was in the healthcare space for a while. I was helping a bunch of these companies with their growth, and travel nurses were a thing that I discovered. And a lot of apparently it's a growing culture where people, it's a very attractive
Oh, yeah.
nature towards nursing, right? People, because they offer the freedom to go where you want and like kind of live
Yes.
your life and do your job, you know. So I did not know that was. I thought it was a relatively new phenomena. Has that always been the case, or is it an older phenomena?
Well, I was not introduced to it until I was looking for a way to get here, and it was cross country Travcore that had because I was living in England and working in London at that time, so um, they were having an interview or so if you wanted to go. So that's how I got involved, and they turned me down. Because I was, this you have to go back to the story of how I got to the UK because I was working at a nursing home at that time. So they weren't hiring people to go to America unless you had acute care experience, and nursing homes were not considered in that category. So then I had to work towards getting acute care experience, and then I was eligible to sit for boards, and that's how the process moved along.
Awesome, awesome. So the deal was you get to travel, but then if you decided to stay, you obviously did. You just
That's right.
stay. Awesome,
Well, they
awesome.
would give you the opportunity once you finish the contract for however many
Got
months
it.
it was, it gets renewed and you can keep going. But the hospital continued to have a need
Yeah.
for me to stay, and so I stayed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So tell us about Sonia. How I wrote down these couple of questions because I'm really curious, right?
Okay.
I wasn't the smartest kid, and I knew that. Well, the teacher called my name a lot, but not for good reasons. But how did it feel? Were you aware? Obviously, listen, Sonia, you clearly you ask all your classmates, they'll say the same thing. They won't deny it, right? You were one of the smartest kids. If there were two, you were like one of the two, right?
Thank you.
Were you aware of that as a smart kid? I was aware. I was aware, right? I was not a smart kid. I had my interests were somewhere else. But as a smart kid, right? And if this is embarrassing, let me know. I'll move on. But I'm just curious, genuinely curious. Do smart kids walk around knowing like, hey, I think I'm a smart kid, right?
Oh, no, no, I
Yeah.
certainly wasn't doing that. See, I was trying to be the best I could
Yeah.
because I wanted to please my dad, and his standards were very high.
Yeah.
And I remember once, I think it was fourth grade, I came home with the fourth rank, and we were all the first. Who was the first? It was either Lyndon or someone. One of them had the first place.
Yeah.
And we were just points apart. And he was not happy.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
not happy at
Yeah.
all. He almost didn't want to sign my report card.
Wow.
And it was, I'll get Mom to sign it. And he said, no, bring it here. I'll sign it. But I don't. He better not come bring me a fourth rank the next time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a high standard, right? We all need someone to push us, encourage, push, pull, and encourage, you know?
Yes. But, when you have your own child and you think about how that impacted you growing up,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little unrealistic because you can't always be sitting at the top. It's good to aspire to get there because they always say, if you reach for the clouds and if you fall, you'll at least get the top of the tree. If not,
Yeah.
you end up on the ground.
Yeah.
So I learned that with my daughter because we want her to do very well, but I'm not wanting to do what happened to me to say that you always have to be number
Yeah.
one. It's
Yeah.
okay if you mess up, but keep trying. If you fall, get back up again.
Yeah. Wow. So there's definitely the stress, right? And that being the smart kid as well that we don't realize, obviously there's either motivation, either from internal sources or external sources. There's something that you guys wrestle with. You had a goal, right? So, when you say Lyndon, was it Lyndon Anglo?
Yes.
No, really? He got first? I mean, I know he passed away, but
Yeah,
but
that's so sad.
yeah.
Yes, it was Lyndon.
Wow. See
I
the
believe it
fact
was
that,
him.
and I know I know you and Deanne were the two
Yes.
smart kids in the class. I think the boys were just busy playing with bugs because I think our classroom was literally like a dirt floor, I think, right? First standard or something with benches on a dirt floor. I know
Yeah.
like a thatch roof and bugs would fall out of that and we would play with it in
Yes,
class.
that particular one. And then we got
Yeah.
into the nicer classrooms
Yeah.
as we went up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't blame us for being distracted with bugs
Yeah.
falling out of the
And
thatch
Cindy
roof.
was with me as well.
Who?
My other friend, Cindy,
Wait, I don't know. What's her name?
Lucinda Anthony, but
Okay.
she's married now and she lives in Australia, not far, actually, right where Calvin lives in Adelaide.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Lucinda sounds familiar. Honestly, I don't know. Do you keep up with any of your friends that from grade 1 or 4th in that school?
Not from from the early childhood things would be Cindy.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
still
really?
keep
Nice.
in touch.
Okay.
She's a good close friend of mine. And then I do have another Diane, of course I know, but I don't know. I haven't been on Facebook, so I haven't been keeping that much in touch with her. But I've still been in touch with a friend I met sort of in the 6th grade. I became friends with her. Her name is Farhana Fatima. She's Muslim, and we keep in touch through WhatsApp. And when I went to India just recently, I returned on the 1st of January.
Nice.
I hadn't met her since we finished 10th grade because we went
Wow.
separate, 2 different schools.
Yeah.
She went to Dufton and I went to St. Columban's.
Okay.
I think that's right, in Paris. She actually came down. She lives in Bangalore, and she
Okay.
came down with her daughter to meet us and
Nice.
cooked up this delicious feast for us.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you went to St. Columbian's?
Yes, for 11th and
Which
12th.
see, I wasn't. That's just behind St. Mary's, right?
The boys' school was right next to ours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. Yeah, I had
Wow,
taken first.
I've never known anyone to go to St. Columbian's. I didn't know you went there.
Diane and I went.
No way, really?
Yes,
For 11th and 12th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
We
see,
were in the same class.
no way. I did not know that. See, I went to Matthias after
I see.
After, yeah, so I did not do 11th and 12th in St. Mary's. Awesome. So, um, Columbians, what was the motivation? Did you choose Columbians? Did you scope it out because it was a good school?
No, because as you know, growing up, your parents are going to decide for you. You can say, so as girls, we plan to go to Dufton Corries because we knew that they would have more fun. It was a Christian college, and they could go out shopping or get out of there. And that was my plan. And my friend Farana was going there, and another friend, I think Cindy was going there as well. That's Lucinda. We
Yeah.
call her Cindy. And there was another girl, Srividya. She unfortunately had an accident, passed away later on, college time. And my mother heard about that and she said, "Oh no, you're not going to that. They have boys or something
Yeah, yeah.
like that. So you're going to the Presentation Convent in
Yeah.
St. Columban's." And I was not happy about it, but that's where I had to go. And Diane was the only one who was also going there with me.
Awesome. Did Deanne and you conspire? Okay, you did not make the choice, but I remember St. Columbians, right? We went in an all-boys school, and I know Calvin will testify to this. So when we discovered there was a girls' school behind this wall, so at the back of our school,
Yeah.
there's a small passageway and there's a wall, and we figured out there was girls on the other side. We would be so stupid. We would just climb on backs and just pull up over the wall and just look at the girls in the in the other school.
I know. Yes, that's what they did. They separated the girls from the boys,
Yeah,
and but then they had the boys' school right next to.
yeah, yeah,
That was
exactly.
really ironic.
Yeah, it was funny. It was fun days. You like explaining that to my daughter. Like I mean, I'm sure if you tell your kid stories about growing up in India and the school stories, they would not. I'm not sure if you ever remember, but I was walking to school one day and I found this stray goat on the road and it had a rope, and I brought it into the school
Oh,
and I tied it up to the window, and then Denver, Rosia, and myself were like sitting in
okay.
class and like pulling on it on this rope and playing with the goat in
No.
I think, yeah, and telling my daughter this, and they can't fathom how would you find a stray goat, how would you bring it into
Yes.
school, right?
Right.
And nobody questioned it at all, right?
Oh, that was yeah. Those were the days. That's probably not going to happen now.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
they still have cows on the road, and I
yeah,
haven't seen any goats, but cows I did see when I went to India
yeah,
recently.
yeah. So how was it growing up? Obviously, I only knew you in school, but you had your head screwed on right from the start. You just seemed like you knew what you wanted in life, like as a first grader or first standard. So how was it? How was? Did you ever? I don't think. Did you ever go to dances and like do that
Yes.
scene? You did.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. I love to dance, and I have to thank my uncle Brian D, Dad's brother. Dad was the oldest among brothers, but I think he talked my dad into taking me to a, because when he'd come, he'd go to dances, and I was still quite young. I think I might have been 14 or so, not quite 15. And he could talk my dad to letting me come to the dance with them. So yeah, I got my first experience going to
Nice.
dances, and I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was fun, the music, the dance, the ballroom dance, I mean the nice flow and all of
Yeah.
that. When I went to India recently, I was asking my sister about that because I
Yeah.
was wondering about the
Wait, you have a
dances.
sister?
Oh, yes. My sister is Shireen Pereira. She's married to Cresswell Pereira. And you need to know this. Guess who's his mom?
Creswell sounds familiar. Who is his mom?
Miss Flory.
Oh,
She didn't
really?
teach us, but
Y-
she's his mom.
Oh,
Our teacher,
really?
Miss Flory.
Yeah.
Yes, I met her when I went home this Christmas,
Wow, how cool is
and
that?
Rufy Pereira also came to see me.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, she still remembered me and pinched my cheeks.
Of course.
And she
That's a
brought her
great.
son, and she heard I was in town, and she talked to Flory, and yes, Flory, and came over. So it was so nice. I
Wow.
met two of
Yeah.
my teachers. I mean, Flory didn't teach me; she taught Sherry. Yes, so Sherry is my younger sister, and Sherry has two daughters, Amy and Aria.
Awesome.
Yes, about two.
Are they in India? Where are they?
Yes,
Okay.
they're both in India.
Okay.
Calvin's the one who went to Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. I spoke to Calvin last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Did a podcast session with him. He's a great storyteller. I know Calvin.
Yeah, I would like to listen to that.
Yeah, it's not published yet. But I'll definitely send you a link. I'll let you know when it's.
Okay.
I did like 10 podcasts last week, I think. It was
Wow.
like 2 a day. People just signed up, and so I have to publish it. So it'll take me a while, like to
Yeah,
publish one a week.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So did you go? Was your first dance in Railway Institute? And for those who did not, weren't fortunate enough to grow up in Madras and Perambur, Railway Institute was the hangar joint. It was awesome. Sonia lived kind of close to it. It's
Yes,
where we had all our dances. It had wooden floors, and when as a kid you're going there for the first time, the band is playing on this awesome, some Anglo band is playing, and the wooden floors are like bouncing. It's an experience. It's not
yes.
kind of the same anymore, but was it there that you went for your first dance?
Yes, that was where I
Nice.
went for my first dance, and I probably went to a couple more dances after that, and by then I was going to college and stuff like that, so
Yeah,
that was the end of it.
yeah. What did you do in what was your did in Colombians? I know in my did they have like what was I'm not sure if it's called a major. Is that what it's called?
Yes,
What was your major in Colombians?
science.
Okay, science. And is that how did you get interested in nursing? Did you seek it out, or did you fall into it, or nursing found you?
No, not quite. I was interested in medicine, so I think I did one. I sat for one exam. It was JIPMA in Pondicherry.
Nice,
I
really.
didn't get in, and Diane's dad took both of us to
Claude.
CMC Velo.
Yeah.
That was an awesome campus, and I really had my heart set on. I would have loved to do medicine there. I was so excited about it. I brought the prospectus home, showed it to mom, and at that time it was about 10,000, I think, for a year or something to that effect. And mom said, "There's no way I can afford that. I have 3 kids," and that was it. But she was talking to me about nursing after that. And it took me some time because I had my heart set on that one. But God opened the door for me to get into that same campus, so to speak, and do my nursing over there. And that was probably the best thing that happened to me.
So you did your nursing in JIPMA in Pondicherry?
No, no.
Okay, see
JIPMA,
Velo.
yeah, JIPMA was where I tried to get
Got it.
into
Yeah.
medicine. That
Okay.
didn't work out. But my first choice was CMC Velo
Got it.
for
Yeah.
medicine. But it was too expensive, so mom said no, but I got into nursing over there.
Velo, isn't that like where the jail is? Is that Velo? What else is Velo
I
famous
believe
for?
they have a jail, but that college is one of the best colleges
Yeah.
in the world.
Really?
I mean, in the country,
Yeah.
may not be the world,
Yeah.
but it's certainly one of the best
Yeah.
colleges there.
Yeah.
It's a missionary. It was started by a missionary,
Really?
right? Dr. Ida Sophia Scudder.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
fascinating.
She was an American missionary. It's a beautiful story. Her father was the physician, and she
Okay.
was there with him years ago. I don't know the exact, which year, but it's a beautiful story that one day there was a knock on his door, and it was someone needing him to deliver a baby. And the lady happened to be Muslim, so they didn't let a man come in and deliver the baby. And the lady passed away. Apparently, the story goes that it happened 2 more times, and 3 women passed away. So Ida decided she would go back to America and study medicine and come back to help take care of these people. And that's what happened, and that's how Christian Medical College was established. Christian Medical College and Hospital, CMCH, which was a missions-based hospital, and then came College of Nursing and things like that. And so that's
Wow.
so they primarily try to, it's a strong Christian-based thing. So you want to get people who have a Christian background, and then there are a few seats for non-denominational and other religions, so to speak. And they still, it's I remember while I was doing my nursing, how we would pray every morning,
Wow.
every floor,
Yeah.
every unit, and people would gather they'd put a mat down, they'd sing a little song, open the Bible, read a verse, and pray. So patients, relatives, whoever could would come and join. And that's all over the hospital.
Oh wow. Wow, that's fascinating. How old is that hospital? I'm curious to know how long that tradition has carried on, because sometimes the vision fizzles out, leadership changes.
They may be, I still have some of my friends there. I should probably ask them, but I don't believe they would have wanted to
Yeah.
stop that.
Yeah.
Because they have a chapel there and students were
Wow.
encouraged. See, we had to be in chapel at 6:30 in the morning before we went to class. In your first year
Was that
of
every
nursing.
day? Oh,
Pardon?
and was that every day?
For the first, it's the first 3 months or something, it was mandatory. They would take attendance.
No way.
Yes, they would. Yes, absolutely. So it was really good, and it was different at that time because I went in as a Catholic, and towards the end, someone gave me a Bible, and I started to know who Jesus was, what was the real story in there, and that changed my life.
Yeah. Were you like were you as I kind of know about your current your church involvement and like and your faith a little bit. It's not difficult to guess, right? Because I think you're very open. It's not like I wonder if Sonia believes in Jesus. It's not, nobody's ever going to guess that, right? So be confused about that, right? But I'm curious, were you and I know all of us were kids and we grew up Roman Catholic, right? But were you a staunch Roman Catholic? Were you like committed or back
Yeah,
then? Oh yeah,
I was.
yeah,
My outgoing principal, Sister Dennis, she, I heard the story because I really wanted to be the head girl.
yeah. Of course
And
you
the head
did.
girls, we wore a different uniform compared to the rest of the school. And
Yeah.
I was very excited. Maybe, I was taking part in sports. I was doing well in school. I was involved in competitions. So, yes, I should at least be nominated for the head girl. But they didn't nominate me. I was so shocked standing in that line. I mean, what? How could you not nominate me?
Yeah.
And my friend Bevinder got nominated, and she got the position. And I was walking. I remember exactly where I was walking down, going towards the classroom. We had our classes were up on the first floor, or second floor, I think we'd say. And some teachers were talking. And one of them was saying to the other, "Why wasn't she nominated for head girl?" And the other teacher replied, "That's because Sister Dennis wanted her to be the Catholic pupil leader and she nominated her for that position."
Wow.
So apparently that was the headmistress's request before she retired or moved on. So I became the Catholic pupil leader
Wow.
for the school, and I
Yeah.
got to wear the same color of, the white skirt or something as the head girl. There were 3 of us who got to wear that uniform. Towards the head girl, the Catholic pupil leader, and the games captain. And I think
Yeah.
the games captain was Belinda
Yeah.
Rego or something. No,
Oh,
Belinda, I don't know the last name.
interesting. Yeah. If it's Belinda Rigo, I recently spoke to there. By the way, there's Jeff Rigo and Rayburn Rigo. And they did not grow up in Perambur, but I think their grandparents lived in Perambur. So I'm not sure if Belinda Rigo is related.
Yes,
I do
I
not
hope
know.
I'm not confusing the last names because there's
Okay.
Bevinder and there's
Bevinda.
Belinda.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the last
Yeah.
names now. They probably married, so.
Yeah. Last names don't matter. I'm joking.
But yeah, speaking about being the Catholic,
Yeah.
yes, I was very faithful. I went to church on Sundays. I was part of the choir. I would read the second or is there a third reading? I
I
got
don't know.
it. Yes, I read those readings. First reading, second reading, right? I don't think there's a third. So I read the second reading in church, and I took part in the junior choir. And because I was a Catholic pupil leader, I think that year when you had that Mother Mary's
A
feast,
feast, yeah.
I had to carry the flag
Nice.
in the
Yeah.
procession.
Yeah. So what was the hierarchy, right? Like, did the head girl at some point in time would sit under you, right? At least was there like no?
No, the head girl was the head girl. We were
Okay.
just the Catholic pupil leader, and
Okay.
of course, there was the games captain. I think
Yeah.
she would carry something probably
Yeah.
because we had all those.
Yeah.
There's really nice what were they? Meet the games meeting
Yeah.
or sports day
Yeah.
where we had
Yeah.
all the marching and all
Yeah.
that, which was really nice.
Yeah. Were you good? I think were you good at sports? Were you did you run? I think you were in like high were you not like a high jump or long jump or something like
Yes,
that?
I
Okay.
did high jump and long jump
Okay.
because dad was a good athlete. Dad was a very good runner. He did what's that? The triple was that hop step? What is that? He did the long jump. He did triathlons, things like that. He did. I think he did pole vault as well. He
Really?
was the one who took me before I started sports and taught me because we had the railway stadium
Yeah.
and you could get in through one of the because it wasn't completely closed. You'd get in through the some fence that
Yeah.
was open, and he'd take me. You'd have the boxers practicing on top.
Yeah.
They'd run the laps and they'd go up
Yeah.
and they'd be boxing up there. So dad taught me how to do long jump and about high jump
Yeah.
and we'd run laps around there. So yes, I did take part in sports, and the first year I did it, I won gold in the long jump and the
Of
high
course you
jump,
did.
and I won. And he was very happy because then you scored the highest. I mean, based on your score, it was high enough that I won the championship for that.
Yeah.
I think I won a total of probably 3 championships, and then
Wow.
after that, I was thinking of going into medicine and things like that. So I didn't. You'd have to train, be
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing all that,
Yeah.
so it just fell off.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I imagining this, but I know there was a trainer. Uh, I went for a brief period. I think I'm not sure if you were there or maybe some other classmate. I remember we used to meet up at 6 o'clock with some trainer, and
Oh,
were
yes,
you
yes.
there?
That's right, Carrie. We went to the beach. Were you
Beach,
there?
exactly. Oh, you were
You were
there.
there?
That's
We had
okay.
to run
Yes,
on Marina Beach.
yes.
Wasn't her name Carrie or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. It was a small group of kids.
absolutely. She helped us so much because that year, I think I took part in the interschool championships.
Yeah.
Was at Roger Ratnam Stadium.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I think, because my dad, he almost didn't want to let me go because I'd taken part before and I didn't win anything. And he said, "What's the point? Why do you want it?" Because you had to get permission from them.
Yeah.
And he finally let me go. And that particular year, I don't know which year it was or what grade I was in, but I won. I took the silver in the long jump and the bronze in the high jump. And then they put our name in the paper as to who won.
Wow.
So I take my look, Dad, my name's here. Not that he was paying much attention,
Yeah.
but Sherry, I think because she
Yeah.
helped us and trained, we
Yeah.
were able to do that.
Yeah.
But what did you do if you trained with her?
I was also good at long jump. High jump, not so much. For some reason, it was easier for me to set a goal, to draw a line and see how far I was jumping and try to beat that. Whereas there was no way to like mark my high jump. So I was not too I mean, literally you can mark it with a pole, but I would draw a line in the sand for long jump and just try to beat that.
I
So I
see.
was more interested in long jump. Um, I was not good at track. I didn't like running like 100 meters, not and the hurdles. So I remember going to that's what I thought you were there as well. That's crazy that you remember her name. You're good with names. I don't remember
I remember those
most of people.
because it made an impact.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might forget other names.
Were you always like listening to you talk, right? It's affirming. I can see because I've known you, right? And always like my early inclination, okay, Sonia is a smart kid, but hearing all these other stories, I'm kind of putting the picture together, right? You are kind of you had these goals. You set these goals for yourself, and maybe not. You did not call it goals back then, but you just wanted to do stuff, and then you figured out how to do it, then you right. At least things not most people were doing back then, right? Well, have you always been like that, and are you still that setting those goals, or like, hey, I want to do this. How do I do it? And then go do it, right?
Yeah, a little bit, maybe not as much now as time has changed. I've become a mom and things are different. But when I was single, I was committed to going and working out, and I did that faithfully. Uh, but now I got to try and work out with all the stuff that I have upstairs. We have part workout room. But I was committed in the sense that I knew I wanted to get my master's. I got my bachelor's in India. So not long after I came to America, before I became a citizen, I wish I'd done I wish I'd gone the nurse practitioner route sooner. But I wanted, for some reason, I guess I wanted to teach. So I did start. I mean, I did my master's in nursing education, and then went into teaching. Worked for a university. So I was committed in that aspect. I got to, while I was working as a professor, I got to not publish, sorry, present at a conference, like a state conference in, I think it was somewhere in Atlanta. So that was one good thing. But if you continue to stay in the nursing field as a professor, you would have to write papers and things like that. But then, of course, I went on to pursue a career as a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, and awesome. So, where did you go to school in Georgia? Like, which school did you?
So the first master's that I did was online with Western Governors University. There's several governors that the university, I mean, they formed that university. So that was the first one. That one's based out of Utah. The one that I did here is right almost in my backyard, about 5 minutes from where I live.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, Middle Georgia State University was a
Yeah.
college, then became a university. So they started the adult gerontology acute care nurse practitioner program probably about 7 years ago. And I enrolled in the first program.
Really?
But we were the first batch, yes.
What is gerontology?
For people over the elderly,
So it's related to geriatric. Is that
the
okay?
geriatric, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Over the age of, say, 65 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So sorry, I'm jumping around, but tell me again. I know you briefly touched on it, and if you don't want, some people are hesitant, and there's nothing wrong. So this is what people are hesitant about, right? Those who are Catholic and are not Catholic anymore don't want to talk about that transition because it's not dissing Catholic, it's not dissing anything. I'm just curious. People sometimes, if they leave the Catholic faith, the Catholics think they assume like it's a diss. They're dissing the Catholic faith by saying like I've gone to some other religion, right? So I'm just curious about if you're open to talking about that transition, like what was the what was the driving factor? What was the convincing things for you? If you're open to that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And may I ask, Conrad, are you Catholic?
No, I'm a denomination Christian.
A born again Christian?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, just
Yeah.
like me then.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, no.
But because some people, when I ask them that question, right? And no judgment at all. If they want to talk, they want to talk. People can talk
Yes,
about anything.
absolutely.
But some people feel like I would rather not talk about it because I left the Catholic faith, and my Catholic friends would be offended. But people are not. I don't think anybody should be offended. It's right. But if you're open to talking about that, I would love
Oh,
to
yes,
hear.
absolutely. That was it was, I think, very divinely appointed. As what does it say? The steps of the righteous, they're ordered by the Lord. And Jeremiah 29:11 says that. Sorry, I shook up this thing. I know the plans that I have for you. They're good plans, plans to give you hope in the future. Of course, I didn't know anything about that because I you wouldn't know anything about it because if you didn't have a Bible and you didn't
Yeah.
read it,
Yeah.
I would not know about it. And I will share about that. And how shall I say? So going to this college it's a Christian college, my nursing. To get in, they have very few seats for Catholics because it was Christian based. But we prayed about it, and Mom was able to tell me that hopefully we'll try for this. I think her manager knew somebody there, and they knew that there was a good college, and so I was, by the grace of God, I got in. So while I was in there, when exactly? We had, remember I said that we had to go, it
Yeah.
was mandatory that we
Yeah.
attended chapel and things like that. And we lived in this the what would we call it? It's not the mess was where we went and had our breakfast. It was a hostel,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
about 9-story tall, and we started off on, was it the 8th floor? First year, second. As you went up
Really
the stairs, you came down.
hilarious.
So they would have prayer every
Because you're
night.
getting older and your knees can't take it anymore.
Well, the I guess the juniors had to walk all the way up if the
got
lift elevator was broken.
got it. Okay.
And
Okay.
once it was broken, we had to carry water and stuff all the way up. So they would pray. They would get into the middle of the rooms where it was like a rectangle, and there was a middle area where people would gather to pray. And they would pray for a very long time. So most of the time, I didn't want to go and hang out
Yeah.
there because what would
Sure.
pray for so long? It seemed ridiculous because I wanted to go read. I was big into reading my novels and things like that, and it was, oh, I'd rather read that. This is so boring. And they'd come knock on the door, encourage me, and sometimes I would go. And I remember one day, because we'd have all these exams. I mean, they were hard exams. We had to study a lot. And I attended the meeting before we went for our exams. So we had these beautiful buses. They were silver and blue. That was our colors. And they would take us to the medical college because we were writing our exams over there, I think. So before we left, they had a prayer, and I remember them saying something, quoting Bible verses. I'm not sure exactly what, but I remember when I was doing, I think it was anatomy, and you had to draw, name the parts, write everything. I had like a, what would they say, a brain freeze or something, and
Yeah.
thing went blank, and I couldn't remember what to do, and the time's ticking. And I had to write and do all of this, and I just was stuck. And then for some reason, whatever the girl said, something about that Bible verse came to mind. So I kept saying it over and over, and I said, well, if you're real, God, help me, something like that. It's so long ago now, but very soon after that, my mind cleared and I was able to do it. And then I just thought, well, there must be something in this word. It worked. Maybe there's some power in it. And I forgot all about it, and life went on. And then I had well, we had different friends. So one of my friends, her name is Christy. She lives in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland now. She works, maybe she's works in the nursing department. She's doing quite well. So I think she was from the southern part of India, and she'd become my good friend. And she's a Seventh-day Adventist, and she always encouraged me to read the Bible and things like that. And I would go with her to the Seventh-day Adventists. They had a lot of fun things to do, and there was like an American family who had these young doctors, nursing students come and hang out at their house and on a Saturday or Friday or something, because they follow the Sabbath on Friday evening to Saturday. Yes, the typical way, the way it's supposed to be. And so one year she gave me a Bible as a present, and I thought, who's going to read this thing? So I put it on my little bookshelf on my table, and it would collect dust, and I'd wipe it, and I'd put it back. But I think, and I heard when we'd go to chapel, and they'd have different people come and preach. So one day which I'm trying to figure out which year I was in, probably third year or getting close to the fourth year, which would be our last year. There was 4 years of nursing college. Seventh year was seventh semester was management, eighth semester was midwifery. So you'd become a midwife as well. And there was a pastor who came and he preached. It was fire, and he was an Anglo Indian.
Really? Do you know
Really?
his name?
Yes, I do. Pastor Colin de Cruz.
Okay, no, I've never heard of him. Yeah.
So he's still in Velo. He's got a bigger church now. And he shared his story of how he was suicidal and he was wanting to commit suicide. But I don't remember exactly what happened and how his life turned around, but it did. He found Jesus, in other words. And he shared about the crucifixion and how Jesus went to the grave and how he defeated death, hell, and the grave, and he took the keys back, and Satan was defeated. And I had never heard that before. I mean, we're listening to the Catholic Church, and they preach the messages out of whatever the reading was for the day. And I was very intrigued. I was quite impressed because I mean, this was someone in Anglo like me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I went back and told those girls because they would say, come to chapel and stuff like that. And I wouldn't really go. I have to say, on the side, when we were in first year, there was a psychiatrist, and we were trying to put together the Catholic Church. We met in a in a little classroom to have a little service. It was in the Asha building where we had our library and all of that. And I was helping teach girls how to sing and things like that for the Catholic. But it wasn't going that well. So I had sort of not gone to chapel or Catholic church or whatever that was happening. So I was out of it. So these girls would always try to encourage me, come to chapel, so and so. So I said to them, I heard that pastor preach. He was really good. I was really touched by what he said. And I said, I'll go to chapel again if he comes. If he comes, let me know. I'll go. So he probably came another time. And then we found out that he had a church, probably 20, 30 minutes from where our college was. I think by this time I had graduated and I was working because you'd have to work for them. We had a contract. And so I went. So Christy had given me this Bible. So at some point in time, I started to open it and start to read. Not as much until Pastor Colin, we went to his church, and my other friend Elizabeth was Catholic. She was also with me in my class. Elizabeth now is a nurse in Washington. So she lives there. And during one of the sermons, he said, he was talking about Mary and Jesus, and he gave the example of a plane. He said, the plane came and landed bringing the prime minister. This was his example. And he said all the people were waiting with garlands, and they were so happy that the prime minister was coming. But after he got off the plane, they ran with the garlands and they put it on the plane, but not on the prime minister. And he equated that with Jesus being the prime minister, Mary being the vessel that God used to bring Jesus into the world. And all our devotion and adoration or our praise was going towards Mary. So I was greatly offended. In fact, Elizabeth, we call her Elsie. I said, how could he say something like that?
Yeah.
You know, how could he say that?
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
not true.
Sure.
Because we had always been taught that
Yeah.
we honor
Yeah.
but we don't worship.
Yeah.
Well, when you're kneeling down and praying, and when you're lighting candles, and when you've got a picture up and you're doing things like that, you'd come to realize once you learn about the whole thing that that's not just honoring, you're going past that. Because if you read the first commandment, which is even not in the Catholic Bible, perhaps, because I mean, I hadn't even read the Catholic Bible. I think there's a few more books in there. The first commandment says, you shall not have the way the commandment goes, but part of the commandment says, you shall not have any image of me, either in the air above, on the earth, or in anything below. You cannot make any image
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So having somebody else's image, you come to realize maybe that's not what God wants, because he wants all the glory, all the
Yeah.
honor. He wants to be the
Yeah.
one and only. So we said, we need to go and talk to this pastor. We need to let him know how we felt, because we were still very, very Catholic,
Sure.
and this offended us.
Sure.
So we waited till all the people left, and we went and asked him, and we let him know. He said, we love your messages, but this thing you said, it really offended us, because you need to understand that we don't worship Mary. We honor her. And he said, then he brought up something about purgatory and things like that. And I think he mentioned, what else did he say? There's something about Mary ascended into heaven. I mean, it's quite a while now, something 15, 20, something years like that. And he said, if you can show me proof in the Bible that, Mary ascended into heaven or something like that, which he was saying, I'll believe you. And I said, okay, all right. Except I had no clue what was in the Bible because I'd never
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
I said, it's all right, Elsie. We had some like a retreat or something coming up, a Catholic thing that we were going to. I said, we'll ask the priest. He'll know. I said, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to get this evidence and I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to give it to this pastor. So that was our plan. So I remember going to this retreat and they had buttermilk,
Yeah.
Conrad. You don't ever get it here, the thin kind
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
the curry leaf and all
Yeah.
that and the
Yeah.
ginger. So I remember drinking that, waiting for this priest. So we went up to him. Oh, I was the one doing the talking anyway. Elsie was with me. And I explained to him all of the things that happened and what this pastor said. And I said, oh, he insulted Mary and we are
Yeah.
offended.
Yeah.
But I need to go back and I need to give him some evidence. Can you please help me? Can you tell me where it is? And I'll write it down. And then he said, no, 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 that's not there in the Bible. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's tradition. And I thought, what? And he went off. He went off on his way. He couldn't show me where it was in the Bible. He couldn't give me the proof. And I was so shocked. I was so betrayed. I thought, my goodness, for all this time, I've been going to the church and I've been praying and I've been doing all of this. And you're going to tell me that what I'm basing my faith and my belief on is tradition. So that really shocked me. And then I thought, another thing happened. I think one of my friend was, they mentioned something about the Pope and things like that. And the Pope in the Catholic Church is very highly revered. And they believe him to be, I don't know, I can't remember everything. I might not be quite right with it. But he's, do they believe that he's without sin or something?
I don't know. Honestly.
Something like that. But that's what I was hearing for somebody else. And I was getting all these different things. And I thought, well, I need to know for myself. So maybe I will start reading the Bible
Yeah.
and see what's in there. And I ask God to give me wisdom to show me if this is really true and so forth. So I started reading the things. And I think, if I thought we were going to read this, I should have brought my Bible. But in the very Gospel of John or Matthew, read in the very beginning, because we believe that Mary, and again, I am not saying this to offend anybody.
Sure. It's your story.
Yes,
It's
I'm
facts.
just
It
telling you the
happened.
journey
Yeah.
that I went on. And Conrad, if they want to know more, they can just read my book.
Really? Yeah, absolutely. You have
Yes.
a book?
Yes, I have a
Sweet.
book. It's called Does God Really Have Your Back? And I can probably get down and I have a copy out there I could show you. So I share all of this in the book in more detail. I think it came about, we'll talk about that later, but it's been about a couple of years now. So it talks about my journey, and the same story that I'm sharing with you is in there. So I started reading and trying to find out what the truth is. And at that same time, I kept going and listening to Pastor Colin preached, and I was really strengthened by it and beginning to see what was in it. So we're talking about Matthew or John's Gospel. In the very beginning, when they talk about Mary and that she had a child, the Son of God, and with Joseph. And it was very clearly stated there. Because, see, we have read that in the Catholic Church. We've stood in either the priest or someone has read part of that gospel, and we've heard it every time. And one of the things we always find when we read the Bible or we read a particular verse, sometimes you'd read it again and you get different
Sure. Yeah.
revelation.
Yeah.
And when I read this, I realized I've read it so many times, but it had not occurred to me because it says there that he knew her not until after the child was born. And they had other children. Because when you read about Jesus, you'd say his brothers and his sisters were
Yeah.
waiting for him.
Yeah.
And it was constantly underplayed or made to appear that it was the crowd or other people, that they were generally his sisters and brothers. But no, just think about it. In that day and age, she was betrothed to him. She was supposed to be his wife, and he was supposed to be her husband. But the Catholic Church has made it appear that Mary was a virgin forever. She was a virgin until she conceived and had Jesus. But after that, she had to be his wife. What do you think the two of them were doing in a
Yeah.
bedroom?
Yeah.
Not touching each other, not
Yeah.
living life.
Yeah.
They lived their life. She had other children. She had sons and daughters, and I think is it James or one of them was supposed to be Jesus' brother. Don't quote me on that because I haven't
Sure.
confirmed
Sure.
that in the Bible on who's his brother. But and I saw that and I thought, my goodness, that is true. She did know him after she had Jesus. She was his wife in every aspect. They shared a relationship. She got pregnant again and she had many children. But the Catholic Church doesn't want to go down that road because it's too late. That's the tradition, that's what's been in the book. And that's why the priest couldn't give me evidence or proof. So the pastor was right, and I was living a lie based on what they've taught me all these years. So I started to read the Word of God and learn from it. And just before we left India, not no no no, that was not right. Just before we left CMC, because when we finished our contract, Elsie and I decided that we would get baptized.
Hmm.
Because see, when you're a baby, we get baptized, and I've
Yeah.
been baptized in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
But it's really making a commitment that you know who Jesus is, that you're giving your life to him, that he's forgiving you of your sins, and you are going to follow him, and you get baptized. So that we do it when you're older, but we weren't taught that. You know, we get baptized as a child, but now that we know all of this, we're saying to the whole world that I'm his disciple. I'm going to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and I'm going to get baptized. And so Elsie and I told Pastor Colin that we would like to get baptized, and he had a little tank outside in the floor, and he baptized us before I think I was leaving April or May or something of somewhere, and it was the late
Were your
90s.
parents aware, or was your family aware of any of this while it was happening? Did you tell them this is going on, or
No, see, Daddy. Oh, I'll have to go back to the very transforming situation in my life. All of this happened around that time. See, I think my book probably documents it
okay?
better as I'm forgetting some
Oh yeah,
stuff.
if you just
See,
want to like highlight it, that's fine.
yes. No,
Yeah.
see, war was a very catastrophic thing that happened in my life that totally, totally rip things apart was, I don't know if you know, but my dad took his life. So during that time, learning about and when Pastor Colin was playing a very pivotal, it's very pivotal at that point, was learning what he was saying, and people were talking about the stuff that I was saying was happening around that time. So my heart was really searching for truth and answers. So I was reading the Bible and seeking God wholeheartedly. And so these things were happening. So almost 2 years later, as I continued to go to church in my with Pastor Colin's church, that is, and the friends, my classmates, seeing the change in me, and I would say would try to invite them to come to Pastor Colin's church, and the answer was, "We're not coming because then we will change like you." Whatever that was, because I guess I wasn't the kind going to church and doing all of that, and you could see a change in me.
Yeah.
So we got baptized in that church just before I was going to leave Velo. And while I was in the service praying, I remember the Holy Spirit speaking to me. Because that's the other thing, the Catholic, we need to know that the Holy Spirit is the one that
Yeah.
comes and lives in our life, and He's
Yeah.
the one who talks to us. Because if you go back, when Jesus was, after He died and He was about to go back, rise back up into heaven, He told them He was going to send them, the
Yeah.
Comforter would come and be
Yeah.
with them. And we didn't know all that. So those were all the things that I was learning. And so the Holy Spirit, when I received my first Holy Communion, they taught us, He said, invite Jesus to come into your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I always found that if I would talk to Him, I could hear Him speak to me and I would have conversation with Him. But I didn't know that perhaps that was the Holy Spirit that was really talking to me.
Yeah.
So when I was in the service after getting baptized, I felt the Lord say to me, open your mouth and speak. Because we're talking about speaking in tongues here, which are very, can be controversial for the Catholics. Because I
Sure.
know my dad used to make fun of those things.
Yeah. My
We were
family
still,
too. We used to,
really?
yeah. I had cousins who were the weird ones at that point. We were like, oh my God, here's our weird cousins. And we would
Yeah.
make fun of them and laugh and joke. And it's all,
Yes, and yeah,
I
my
know what you
dad would
mean.
say
Yeah.
things like that, and that was there's this people they talk in all these weird
Yeah.
languages, and you would feel that way. It
Yeah.
seems totally crazy
Yeah.
how you're even doing that. But until you actually learn and study the word, and you know that the Holy Spirit lives on the inside of you, and you have that personal relationship, that would seem like gibberish. But
Yeah.
there's such power. You're speaking when you pray in tongues. It's a gift. There's several gifts of the Holy Spirit. I think I won't quote a number, but I was hearing something about it. It's just one of the gifts. And I was able to speak in tongues that day because I think I would, after the baptism. And then comes the other thing that makes being a Christian very different and separates it from all the other, like the Catholic Church, is when we give offerings, we would give little pennies or paisas
Yeah.
or rupees, as you will,
Yeah.
way back then. So comes to tithing in Malachi, right? Where the Holy Spirit said, you need to pay, it was 300 rupees at that time. That was 10% of what I was making. So not bad, 3,000 rupees, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nothing now. But I was, oh, how could I? 300? That's a lot.
That's a lot. A
But,
100 rupee note. If you could
I
hold it,
know,
you were a
I
king
know,
or
but that's
queen.
what he was
Yeah.
telling me. It may not have been 300 then, it was 150 or whatever I was making. I didn't know. It was something between that or
Sure.
300.
Something
It was a
enough to
lot.
shock you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I remember doing that and trusting him. But Conrad, can I say that if we are obedient, like as you know in Malachi, God said if you do that, because God requires 10% of our time, hopefully 10% of our earnings. And he said if we do that, he said, prove me now in this. What is it, Malachi 3, 10 or 15, something like that. If I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing on you that there will not be room enough to contain it. And many people have said, would you rather have 90, you're only giving 10% to God. Would you rather have the 90% blessed or really it because of
Mm.
what you have left
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
And that was the first hurdle I have. And then I said, when people were talking to me about this, I think before God spoke that to me, they discussed, my friends, they talked about it. And I said, that's too much. And I said, if you show it to me in the Bible, I'll believe you. So there they go. They break Malachi and say, here it is. And I read it and I was, oh, it's in there. God said
Yeah.
it. It has to be
Yeah.
true. And honestly, I remember it was hard when I gave that first thing, but I have never lacked for anything. And that's probably the smallest tithe that I have ever given, the
Yeah.
10%, because God
Yeah.
has multiplied it over and over and over again. This home that I'm living in, this wall behind me, he gave it to me while I was still single. I hadn't yet become a citizen, and I was scared. How would I even get it? And
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that time, they didn't let you put that much down. So yeah, God is so good. And
Awesome. And then when you went back, how did you go to like? Did you ever go back and live in Perambur between CMC? I know you went to the UK, right?
yes, so when I left college, I came back home to be with mom, and Calvin and Sherry were there because I'd resigned. I didn't extend my contract. Because then I believed, my belief was that God, you said, Sonia, you've always known what you wanted and things like that. My dream was to go abroad. And because dad died, it was hard for mom to look after Calvin and Sherry. And I was supporting her while I've always supported them ever since I started earning. And I wanted to do more because it was
Yeah.
insufficient, the
Absolutely.
funds
Yeah.
in India, totally
Yeah.
inadequate. And my dream was always to go to America. And yeah, I talk more about in the book how I asked God if He would only sponsor me so I could go to America because I didn't know anyone. And I had a picture. I think Jet Airways went out of, they're no longer, they're
Hmm.
bankrupt or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a picture of Jet Airways, a plane, and I was trusting and believing God that one day I'm going to fly. I don't
Hmm.
have any money, but I'm going to be flying and I'm going to go to America and had all those dreams. So when I resigned, I was hoping to go. I didn't know how. But long story short, it took me quite some time. I was at home for several months before an opportunity came by. And that's how the door opened and I
Nice.
started to go abroad.
Nice. So you went to the UK. Um, one more thing. Tell me if this is. I don't know if it's myth or truth. This is Sonia. Is it going to dispel myths about Sonia? Did you ever have an accident as a kid? Was that a bad accident? Did you get tell?
Yes.
Because what at least the kids would say, like, I don't know how kids exaggerate, right? Like the way, and it's been so many years where I remember it, like Sonia got hit by a scooter or a car, and she was dragged. Kids exaggerate, right? It might be true, right? And you were dragged under the scooter or bus for quite a while, and your head got bad. And because I know you came definitely back to school, and I think your head was in a bandage, and we were all like, "Whoa, what happened?" Yeah. So
I
is that
don't
is
remember
that
the bandage. Oh, wow.
yeah,
I don't remember that part. But yes, I did have the accident.
yeah, yeah? Was that wow? Yeah. So was it a scooter or was it a car? Did you get hit
It
by?
was a scooter.
Okay. Oh
Yes.
wow. Yeah.
And somebody, I remember, what's his name? He actually went to study to be a priest in Africa. I can
Was it
see his
Carlo
face.
Bossa?
Carlo Basso, that's
Yeah.
right. Carlo Basso, and they lived across the road from me, and his grandpa would stand outside by the road and he'd keep his hand on the wall and he'd be looking at the traffic. And I think I went across to talk to him or so. And when I was about to cross the road, Carlo, because there was a car parked, and because little me couldn't see
Yeah.
over the car what
Yeah.
was behind,
Yeah.
he said, "Don't cross," to me. But I was already on my way crossing. And then before I knew anything, the scooter hit me. And
Oof.
I apparently I went flying Well, little me probably went flying. And the interesting thing is, I ended up by the dustbin. Because you know how all the trash and stuff
Yeah.
is outside the
Yeah.
dustbin.
Yeah.
I just remember my mom had gone somewhere, so she was at the gate and she saw it happen.
Mm.
And I was lying there, and she went in and told my dad. And I think dad had his lungi or something on,
Hmm.
you know, the lungi, but
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
came running and he picked me up and took me back. But I did hit here. I still have a scar at the back where they went to KMC Kilpock. They stitched me up and they told me that I couldn't tell them that I was hit by a scooter. And oh my, I did hate to lie
Why?
because they said it would become a police case and
Got
they didn't want to
got it.
get the man into trouble and that I
Yeah.
was supposed to tell them. My father insisted that I tell them that I fell down the stairs.
Mm.
And I remember I think it was the resident. He kept asking me all these questions. And maybe I said the wrong thing, and he'd go back and you said this, but did you really fall
Wow.
down the
Yeah.
stairs? Because they were
Yeah.
trying to
Sure.
ascertain whether
Yeah.
maybe you were injured by
Yeah.
somebody else. But yeah, I got suited up, and the gentleman, he came by to see me a couple of days later. I think he'd bruised his hand or something, but I think I got scrapes and bruises. But this was the one that was bleeding badly,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
brought me some snacks and fruit or
Really.
something.
Oh, well, it was a genuine accident, and that's kind of
Yes,
nice of
it
him to
was.
come back. Not many people would do that. You know. So okay. So again, I'm dispel some myths for us, Sonia. As boys, growing up in Perambur, we were busy doing our thing. Any spare time we were playing marbles, kites, flying kites or top.
Okay.
Right. What were the girls doing? What was the equivalent of kite flying for girls? Did you guys ever hang out? Because I know as boys, like the life of of a teenage girl is a mystery to us because we just did our own thing. So what did you guys do? How did you hang out?
Well, actually, I hung out with my cousins. See, I was the only girl cousin. They were all
Mm.
boys until my sister was born, and then my other cousin, Rosie, was born. So I played with the boys, and they played cricket. I would play
Yeah.
with them.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
play with them. And because I wasn't good, you know how I don't know what's the thing they'd say, she's for not really. We're not
Yeah.
counting what she's
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Okay.
we have
Yeah.
to keep her
We're
on
not
our
counting.
team.
I know that. Yes, I know what you mean. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I really didn't like that because I'd say I'm really good at this, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't count any
Yeah.
points that even if
Yeah.
because I wasn't going to let that team down, but they'd let me play with them. So I remember hanging out with them, and then a lot at school. We played a lot of games there. I don't know that I did anything by myself on the days off, but we played Coco.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
Yes.
ended up with Coco. So after having lunch, because I'd go home for lunch, because like you said, my house was close by. So I'd go home, have a hot lunch, and get back as soon as I can to
Yeah.
play those games
Yeah.
before class started. And the rest of the fun was hanging out with, we went to Summerfest, and
Yeah.
then we'd go on a little trip that they would have. They'd either take us to Snake Park or the
Yeah.
beach, so
Yeah.
that was some kind of entertainment.
Yeah.
And then when we were with the junior choir, we'd sing for weddings at times. So we could
Really?
go, yeah.
Yeah.
If our parents gave us permission, then we could go to the reception. So that
Yeah.
was fun. Carol singing.
Yeah. Yeah. Carol singing. Used to
That
go.
was,
Oh
I
my
love
God.
that.
Yeah.
The carol singing. And
Yeah.
then because we would go one night was just random, everybody.
Yeah.
And then the other night we would go to all the choir members' houses. So we knew when we'd stop at their house, they were going to invite us in
Yeah.
and have cake
Yeah.
and cookies, roast cookies and calcots,
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
Telling my kids, trying to explain carol singing to my kids. And well, I think I think the boys live different lives and the girls live different lives, and sometimes they never overlapped. But we would go carol singing to just strangers' houses, and especially if some uncle would, they'll be up at like 2 o'clock in the morning because some uncle came from Australia or the Gulf, right? Music is blasting, uncle's cheeks are rosy because he's been drinking since 9 o'clock. Everybody's in a happy mood. We knock and we say ka-ching, ka-ching. We'll open the door. Uncle, that whoever's that stranger will call us in, like, sing for us. We'll sing, like, here's some booze, take a sip. And we were all like, what, 16 or 15, like 17, right? Take a sip because it was no big deal, right? And
Right.
so trying to explain carol singing, like that's what carol sing, and then we'll get money, right? So trying to explain
Oh,
that to
yes.
my kids, they can't fathom life like that. It's weird. So so did you ever fly kites? Did you know girls who flew kites in
Mm,
back then? No.
no, not really. But
Yeah.
I believe I tried to fly a kite.
Yeah.
I'm sure I tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It was just, yeah, started cutting your fingers, right? So tell me about your move to the US, and tell me about, if you're open to, how did you meet his name's Brian, right?
Brian, yes.
Brian Evans.
Yes.
Brian Evans does not have the same ring as Sonia Dee. I think Sonia Dee has a good rhythm. I'm joking. But yeah, tell me, how did you meet your husband? Tell me about your kid. Tell me about your family and your life here.
Oh, so when I came to the US, I was invited by a friend of mine, a Filipino friend of mine at work, another nurse, because I was looking for a church. And I didn't have a car initially. So he invited me to this church, and when I went to the church, the worship and the word and the presence was really good. So I just knew that once I got my car, I was going to come to this church. And so I did, and I kept going to the church for some time, but it took me, people were very nice, but I never went to all the Wednesday services and things like that because you form more relationships that way. But my pastor was very nice when he knew that I was a single girl, I was all by myself, and I didn't have family to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with. So oftentimes he would invite me to his home to spend it was Thanksgiving, I think, with his family, which was very nice. And there was another doctor and his wife, Dr. Louis Okoro and Susan Okoro. Um, he was a pediatrician, and he was my daughter's pediatrician. They actually, more than a month ago now, they have moved to South Africa
Oh,
to
really?
be missionaries.
Oh, wow.
So they would invite me to their home for Christmas, and they had two daughters, one son, and so I would spend time with them there. So I was still single. Um, I was waiting for the right person. I did go out with a couple of people, but how did I meet Brian? Was Brian was part of our church. At some point, he joined because he was playing guitar, and I know you play guitar, don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you play bass or do you play
I
lead?
I play electric guitar. That's my main thing, but I fill in on bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brian does both. So Brian had come to church at some point, but he was married at that time. And I hadn't really noticed him. I mean, I noticed that he was playing guitar, but Brian looked different than what he did couple of years later because he was, how should I say, he wasn't really taking much care of himself. At least that was the impression, my very initial thing. And after that, I didn't really know much about him. But maybe I'm trying to get a timeline, probably around 2010 or something like that. I noticed him because we would have practice on a Wednesday evening, and he'd come to play guitar.
Were
And
you on the team as well, or
yes,
you?
I
Oh,
joined the worship
oh,
team at
nice.
some
Okay.
point. I was telling you I wasn't getting involved with people on a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wednesday and things like that.
yeah. Okay.
But eventually, I wanted to. I said I would like to join and
Yeah.
try it out, I guess, and they let me join the worship team. So I was singing with the worship team on Sundays, and he was playing guitar. But one day he came for practice, and I hadn't really known who he was, but I that was one of the nights I paid attention to who he was, or rather, he looked very handsome, very slim. I'd never seen him before, felt like that. And that's because he had been through a divorce somewhere around that time, maybe a couple of months ago, and he took care of himself. He did P90X, ate very healthily,
Yeah.
started working out,
Yeah.
lost over 100 pounds. So naturally, I didn't
Sure.
recognize him. And I was just curious, who was this guy? And long story short, oh, my friend Renee was there, and I started asking him, who's this guy? Who he is, what he does. And he said, well, he works for Cox, he said. And he said, you should invite him over. And I thought, well, there's this DVD player that I'd bought and I'd never opened it. I said, well, maybe I could get him to come fix my TV player. So we did. I asked him, and he said he'd come and help me. So I was living in this house by then, and he'd come to help, but he did it so quickly. And we did sit and chat for a bit though. But when he was leaving the house, I was saying, thank you so much for helping me. And he said, oh, no problem. I'm glad to help church folk. I was, what? That was like a bucket of ice water on top of my head. It's
Church
probably
folk.
like, I guess there's a movie out there that says he's not that into you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so that collapsed like that. Yeah, so I was a bit disappointed. But now, come to think of it, now that we're married, and I was go back and I asked him, why would you answer? He said, I was not looking. I was not looking for
Yeah, yeah.
a relationship because I was just trying to get myself together after going through it. But I had to eventually let him know that I was interested in him. I sent him a message. He was not very responsive to that either. Because I told him that I thought he was, that was Facebook. Sent a message and say, it started off with some picture I saw of him. It was a nice picture, and I told him he looked really attractive or something like that. And his response, because Brian was very, I could see that he was taking care of things in the church, and he had two daughters. He does have them. He had two little girls at that time. They're two little blondie, blue-eyed little girls. And he was a very attentive father, and that's what first
Yeah,
intrigued me
yeah,
or made it stand out that this person is so caring. Look
yeah,
how what a good dad he is. So
yeah.
that was one of the things that I liked about him. And he seemed devoted to them, and I didn't see that he was hanging out with any other women. And so he was actually at that time he was helping. He worked with another guy, Brian. I don't know the man's last name now, but they would put together Christian concerts and things like that.
Really?
Yes, so he was actually in the process of doing that at one of the churches when I sent him that message, letting him know that I was interested in him. And his response was something like, that's out of character for you. And he said, I'm busy at this church or whatever he was doing. And I was so mad that I had done that. How
Yeah,
could
yeah,
I let him know? And no, I couldn't
yeah,
ever go back to this worship team and be on the
yeah,
worship team because
yeah.
he's there and I've let him know. And I'm going to have to leave this country, not the country, leave the state. And all kinds of thoughts were going to my head. So I replied back and I said, I didn't know that you knew that I was interested in you, but now that you know, the ball is in your court. What you do with that information is completely up to you. And so he acted on it.
Huh,
And
that's
he asked
awesome.
me out.
That's awesome, Brian, the ladies' man. I love it. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So do you have? I know you have a daughter together, right? Or is that?
Yes,
Okay,
we
awesome.
have a daughter. Jessica is her name.
Yeah. Who does she character wise, who is she more aligned with, and look wise, is she in between, or is she more like Brian, more like you?
I think she has a mixture of both of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
She was when she was born, she was very, very, very fair. She's got brown eyes like me. She's got my dark hair, but she definitely has a structure. She's got the stronger bones, and she's growing. She's about to be 11 in May,
Wow.
and she's
Yeah.
about my height.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to get to where I am, because Brian is very tall. Brian's about almost 6'5".
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so character wise, is she and how uh, do you cook? Are you the only Anglo in Macon? Have you met any other Anglo Indian in Macon or in the US?
No, I don't know that I've met
Hmm.
any Anglos
That's
here.
that's wild. So
Except you, but
I
you're
know,
in
right?
Atlanta.
Yeah. So you and me are kind of similar in the sense. First of all, are you aware of the Anglo Indian Facebook group, Anglo Indians in the U.S. Facebook? If you're not on Facebook, you might not.
No, I think I might have
But
heard it, but I probably checked it out. I've probably been off Facebook for close to 2 years. I might have made one
yeah,
post maybe a year ago, but I'm
yeah,
not really on it.
yeah. But there is Sheldon. He's from, if I remember correctly, Mount or Perambur in that area, maybe Mount, I think. But no, Madhavaram. I think Madhavam, but he's a really great guy, entrepreneur. But he started like a dance they have in Chicago, and I think like 300 Anglo Indians descend on Chicago for the Christmas dance every year.
Wow.
Yes,
We have that
so
many?
yeah, yes. I'm telling you, after starting this podcast, I've been talking to Anglos who live in places. There's a guy who I spoke with last week. He is he's in North Carolina and he coaches a cricket team.
Oh,
And then there's a whole bunch of Anglos in the Bay Area, like it's like a mini Perambur
in
in the
San Francisco, you mean?
Yes,
The Bay.
yes,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and they all live in Silicon Valley, businessmen, working in Stanford,
Oh, wow.
right? So there's yeah, and all of them. I think Sheldon does a good job bringing these people together who miss out. I think the Bay Area folks do their own thing, almost like in like the Ainavar branch, the Perambur, everybody does their own thing. But Chicago is where everybody descends. They rent a hotel space, they rent a ballroom, and I heard you say you're a good dancer, and you
Well,
right.
it's a long time ago.
So if you're ever interested in that, if
Chicago.
step
Yeah.
back, step into Facebook like close to like September and check out what's going on. And if you ever want to make a trip, I know your schedule might be crazy, but yes. Yes, so I think you and I are similar in the sense that we don't have that Anglo-Indian connection over here, right? I know there's
Yeah.
there's there's whole families. I'm not sure if you know like Denver Daniels, but I think his
Yeah,
relatives like
I'm very familiar with Denver Daniels. Yeah.
I think his cousin like Charlotte Daniel, they have a whole family. All the families live together, so they get to bounce these phrases, go talk, eat the Anglo food, right? But as you and I kind of don't have that, so we sway more towards, we kind of adapt and assimilate
Yes.
to our spouses' cultures, right?
Right.
So how do you raise your kid? Do you blurt out any Anglo Indian phrase out of and at random, or is it it's difficult, right? When you're the minority, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I probably say some of those weird phrases I probably she would pick up. I can't quite get it right off the top of my head right now, but little things like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But your kid is more Caucasian with
American.
no
You know how they are? They're
and
born and raised
yeah,
here. It's totally American.
yeah.
And once I wanted to teach her something in math, and she said to me, I don't know if you're going to know this because you're from India. I think I'll Google this or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I get little remarks like that
It's
sometimes.
hilarious. Do you cook Indian food or Anglo food, or it's all the same, but do
I
you?
I don't cook as much of the Indian food. I'm trying to, but matter of fact, I was, I just cooked some rice, but I'm not that, I need to do more of it, I would say. I was gonna plan to make some mutton or
Yeah.
lamb, if you will,
Yeah.
and then I kept it out a bit too long and couldn't
Yeah. Yeah.
use it today.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I cooked I do like, I know you had Bridget Kumar there
Yeah.
on your on
Yeah.
your podcast.
Yeah.
I do like some of her recipes that I use because it's very similar. You know, the pepper fry and the biryani is what I want to master.
Me too. Yeah.
Yes, but I do make the nice pepper fry with the lamb. And when I went to India just now, my brother-in-law is such a fantastic
Did you go with
chef.
your whole family? Your daughter?
Yes,
Nice. Was this your daughter's first time?
it was her first time.
Nice. Yeah.
So she had a wonderful time, met my sister's two children because I hadn't met them either. And it was really nice to see mom and hang out with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Does Brian, what did they like the food? Do you have Indian restaurants in
Oh
Macon?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We do have this one restaurant not far from where I live. It's called Bombay Curry,
Yeah.
and their food is good. I know you probably have a lot more in Atlanta
Yeah.
restaurants,
Yeah.
but you get a little bit of the Indo-Western
Yeah.
cuisine as well. So
Yeah.
you have some of the chaat, and you get the bel puri and the pani puri, and that kind of a mix as well. And there's another good restaurant in Warner Robins called Curry Mantra. So between those two, and I think there's another one in downtown Macon as well.
Awesome. And where do you still go to the same church that you met Brian? Oh,
Yes,
really?
I haven't changed churches. The church was Victory Christian Center at that time, and as it started to grow, they moved closer to where I live now. We live now, Stone Edge Church
Okay.
in Macon. So we continue to be at this church, and Brian is an elder now. He's been an elder for quite a few years. So, and he still plays on the worship team,
Nice.
and I sing.
Oh,
We've
really?
got a lot
Nice.
more people on the
Yeah.
worship team, so I probably sing maybe once a month.
Okay. Awesome. Is your daughter picking up any instruments? Is she musical?
Yes. So Jessica was learning violin until a couple of weeks ago. Because they have some classes at school, so she said she does some of the violin there. So she decided she might want to learn the piano, so she's just started to learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. The piano is not. It's an easy. If a kid wants to learn an instrument, keys are the easiest things for them to do because they can just go pluck keys, and play a tune. Like guitar and violin is like difficult to play a song in like 5 minutes. My kids, that's what I discovered. I bought a piano and they were playing songs like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in like 5 minutes.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So Sonia, it's so good to. It's so, and before we wrap up, I just wanted to say, I know since we talked about the whole Roman Catholic, I just want to say, like, it's good. What I got from you, that story, is that something that I believe in, right? And it's not just religion; it's anything, right? I think if you believe in something strongly, question it, wrestle with it, and shake it. If it's strong, it will stand whatever storm comes, right? And shake that belief system, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think there's none of your story. It was just your facts. It was just your story. It can't be debated. It can't be argued. It can't be offensive. It's your story. And I think if anybody was a Christian and they became a Roman Catholic, I know a couple of people who did that. I'd love to hear that story because they wrestled with it and they've gone through a process and they've come out on the other end with a decision. So that's an interesting factor to see how you transitioned, and it was a great story. So Sonia, it was so good. I did never in my life would I have thought I would speak to you, see you again, and to find out that you're like an hour away, I think, from me.
Very
Is
close, Steve.
Yeah, Macon, Georgia. If I'm ever, I'll have to Well, you don't cook, so what's the
Oh,
point in calling you? I'm
yeah,
joking.
we should meet up at some point.
Yes.
We should do that. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Great to know. Get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you, Conrad. Thank you for having me.
You bet.